back in.
All set.
Thank you. Katrina, do we have everyone in that should be in?
Yes, Your Honor. No one else is in the virtual waiting room.
So it looks to me as if the only individuals here for a tenant are Mr. Bedzeski's daughters.
That is correct, sir.
Ms. Roman is here, but ma'am, you're a plaintiff or a landlord, right? Okay. All right. So Jessica and Shannon, well, I guess I want to let you know that with your dad's case, the next trial date, the next date is going to be June 23rd. That this kind of case is for what's called a just cause termination. When someone lives in a mobile home park, there's a different process than if a person lives in a apartment complex or a person lives in a house. And mobile home park has to file 3 times within a 12-month time period of some concerns that they have in order to get what's called a just cause case. It may make some sense that once your dad's thinking more clearly, that you get him in contact with Legal Services of Eastern Michigan, because the next court date is going to be June 23rd. And the type of case that they're asking is for your dad not to live at the trailer park anymore. And so a lot of the services that might be available to him, I'm uncertain to see Mr. Thompson, for the just cause determination case, that is your client, correct?
That is, Your Honor.
So even if Mr. Bedzinski caught up the rent through any of the programs at this time, let's take a look here. This time, your client is looking for a judgment, a money judgment, but also not interested in Mr. Bedzinski staying.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. So
just if I can interject briefly, Judge, from our understanding, it sounded like he just needed to clean up the property. And based on what the landlord has said, Patty at the office, she said, as long as we come in and clean up the property and clean up his residence, that he would be able to stay there. Is that not the case?
I would have to follow up and talk to the landlord to get a final answer on that. My last conversation with the landlord on this issue was that the current status was unacceptable, and that that was the discussion, was the current status is a problem.
Okay.
All right.
Could you? So I think you have my email address. So I'm sorry, Judge. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. So the next date that you need to work towards is June 23rd. So if it is simply obviously there is some money that's still owed too. Why don't we go ahead and find out what that amount is? And I know you cannot represent your dad in a court hearing, but I understand you're probably trying to get his property cleaned up while he's unable to do that. So let's go ahead and find out what that dollar amount is, because that money is still going to be owed as well.
Okay.
And just sound like we have that secured as well. So I think it's 1,900 was the last time we spoke.
Let's find out.
So what I'm showing is through the end of July, the amount would be $2,550 for unpaid rent, along with court costs of $238.73, for a total amount of $2,788.73. And the
reason for that, yes. So the reason why that amount is different, Ms. Black, is because by the time the writ date would be in place, July's rent would be due.
Makes sense.
Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do then is we're just going to adjourn this case until June 23rd at 1:00. And then I would suggest that you have contact, work with your dad, and also work with the management group there. You still may want to reach out to Legal Services on behalf of your dad to see if maybe they can offer some assistance. But June 23rd at 1 o'clock is the next court date, and hopefully your dad will be straightened around enough that he'll be able to be here. Because on that
Perfect.
day,
Thank
unless
you.
Yep. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
I'm not going to play the video regarding all the help because we've got a little different process here today. So what I'm going to do is just give everyone else, Mr. Burton and Mr. Thompson and Ms. Roman, the next court date. So Ms. Roman, your next court date is going to be June 23rd at 1 o'clock. You'll need to be here by Zoom or in person, but Zoom is perfectly acceptable. Mr. Burton, your next court dates for your two cases will be July 7th at 10 o'clock. July 7th at 10 o'clock. Do we have someone here for the Brown case?
I'm here on behalf of Mr. Brown, Your Honor.
Okay. So the Brown, yes, I do see that. I'm sorry. Brown case is July 7th at 10 o'clock. And the Maple Grove Manufactured Homes and Gary Bazinski will be June 23rd at 1 o'clock. I think that covers the 9 o'clock docket. So I'm not going to play the presentation because it's not applicable, at least in this circumstance, because it sounds like there's a condition on the home on Mr. Thompson's case.
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right, we're all set for this morning until the 10 o'clock docket.